Good evening and welcome to another edition of Wrestle Talk Show, the wrestling review and insider program. I'm your host Joshua Zimmerman, wrestling fan since 1999 and wrestling promoter since 2005. Let me start off tonight's program by saying thank you to our YouTube following. We have 6 solid subscribers, which means that those 6 subscribers are constantly updated on new material. The views for every video are constantly going up with each day. We want to thank you for that. Our first 2 videos have gotten so far about, give or take, 20 views, about 400 views each, 350 plus. Let's just be straight up with that and just say 350 plus. Knowing my luck, I'll be wrong with the numbers and somebody will come at me about it. Announcing a few things here. The Wrestle Talk Show website has been launched late last week. You can access that at WrestleTalkShow.webs.com. There you can check on the latest news in wrestling, the latest videos here and also on our website. Forums for you, the fan, to truly get involved. I've kind of put up there a couple different scenarios, some questions about the brand split, WWE, ECW, all the major brands. There's something in there for everybody. So get on out and post there if you'd like. We'd like to do a fan-oriented show where we just air the feedback, both verbal and written. And getting into verbal, we've also launched a voicemail box that you, the wrestling fan, can leave your comment or question or anything wrestling related on here within a 3 to 5 minute length, and we will air it on the closest show to when you left the message. The number for that voicemail box is under Contact Us on the Wrestle Talk Show website. Lastly, all emails can be sent to cwecompany@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and twitter.com/cwecompany. No real title to the program tonight, boys and girls, but there's a lot of different news, and I'm sure we'll find something that we get on a rant, or I get on a rant about, and we can come up with a title topic there. First in the news, late last week, former WWE Diva Serena returned to her independent brand Shimmer in response to being called out, where she won. And we have to assume that because it's a non-televised promotion at the moment, it did not violate WWE's 90-day policy after having your contract terminated as to when you can perform back on live television. According to a fan who attended the event, she also fully intends to keep her hair short. My one comment there is, I don't know. I think WWE kind of dropped the ball on that one. Did she fit into a clique there with Straight Edge Society? Yeah, but what did she really do? I mean, really. She was kind of like the gloater after CM Punk and Festus would beat up people. She would kind of just be there to kick you while you're down, kind of. And I guess that was her role, so I guess she achieved it. But having the role of WWE Diva and then being told to cut your hair and kind of not really go anywhere and then be released is not really my way of appreciating a wrestler. But when has Vince ever really appreciated a wrestler? Moving on, WWE shops reports that NXT merchandise is one of their high sellers right now. Right now they have a Halloween combo pack or package for NXT at a discounted price that happens to be selling very well. Moving on to Monday Night Raw, since there's a couple different notes I made for different wrestlers here in different situations. Monday Night Raw was the season premiere / Raw Roulette. And I think anyone who watched this past Monday night seen why the Raw Roulette concept has been buried for the last 3 years, and they kind of I don't know if it was a mistake or if they meant to do it, but they did bring up that this was the first time in 3 years. And it was kind of, well, duh. I can see why. Season premiere, Raw Roulette. No, it had entertaining parts, but it wasn't entertaining through and through. And there was nothing really new to add to it. So it was, yeah, I don't know. One would argue that it was above average Raw. It scored a 3.2, if I'm mistaken, in the ratings. If I'm not mistaken, rather. Jericho had what I call a standoff segment where he kind of baited and demanded to be re-entered into the six-pack challenge. Got that under a condition that he won a steel cage match that would happen immediately. He was forced to wrestle in a suit, or he had to take it off, but more or less he wasn't dressed to wrestle, and it was kind of the on-the-fly match. He is back in the six-pack challenge. Hart Dynasty as of 9/14. I can't say that for right. Yeah, it may have already changed, but they certainly didn't have enough time to hype it up. But as of 9/14, the tag team champions, the Hart Dynasty, had no opponents for a match for Night of Champions, which is again this Sunday. And hopefully, if this does, we definitely will. But if it doesn't, we'll touch on whether or not you should spend $44.95 on Night of Champions. Goldust, our favorite veteran wrestler, seen a match where he actually won. But I was kind of disappointed to see that there was no real ring ability. It was one of the Raw Roulette matches, and it was where kind of a role reversal, where William Regal had to dress up like Goldust, and Goldust had to dress up like William Regal. Goldust won the match by hitting William Regal with a pair of brass knuckles, so there was no real technical ability. But Goldust won a match, so I guess a W is a W if you're Goldust. Just kind of leaving the Raw segment here. Like I said before, you kind of seen there was entertaining spots, but you definitely seen why this has been buried for 3 years, because there was nothing new. I'm not going to say I wasn't entertained. I'm just going to say that we could have done a little better. How's that? Moving on, TNA announced that they recently turned down an offer from Big Talent to they turned it down, whereas they would have picked it up. The rumor is that during his contract talks, or while he's still in them, that it might have been Chris Jericho. And if it was, there's an open case that Chris Jericho doesn't like Eric Bischoff and would voice his opinion about it. But you also have to wonder if the Big Talent was Paul Heyman, whether or not they thought they had him in the bag and then found out he wasn't interested when they weren't going to give him the ability to basically change everything. He wanted to fire the writers, and I don't think it was a bad idea, because you're still making money, but you're not pulling in like you used to. So why not try anything? The worst thing that'll happen is you end up back where you're at. I really do not see why Dixie Carter is playing these games, why she's allowing Eric Bischoff to let her play these games, to kind of, co-conspirator, because he's no better. We can go back and forth on TNA, but we'll save that for another rant. The question came up this week in various wrestling review shows, that wrestlers get paid time off and kind of keep their place in the talent roster, as many of them are starting to show obvious signs of being burnt out. Matt Hardy earlier this week was sent home twice. Second time he was removed. He was sent home from the end of the UK tour, and basically taken off of SmackDown this past Tuesday. The SmackDown taping, he was not on them. There's a YouTube video that circulated where he posts complaints, where he's looking for help in new projects such as an autobiography and things of that nature. And there's also a YouTube video where he's basically holding a gun and he's not making any sense, and you can tell he's burnt out. So the question lately, for this week rather, should they get paid time off? I think they should. I mean, Vince is making money off of these people, and they're just expected to go, and then, oh, if you can't do it no more, Vince McMahon just cuts your contract. So, outside of your Undertakers and your veterans that he has to kiss ass to, Vince McMahon outright tells you in no uncertain terms that he could care less, that you're cool until you stop becoming an asset. And then he could care less about your physical condition, etc., etc. The Blumenthal investigation looks into promoters' demands and contracts while maintaining talent as independent contractors. It also calls for paid time off and proper wrestling recovery. The other part of that investigation is that since 1983, this scope would come out to whether or not they should be labeled differently. So Vince has to pay some taxes, and Vince would end up giving them in no uncertain way. It would just work out for the wrestler that this investigation, which is actually sparked by Linda McMahon wanting a Senate seat, would have never came up had her opponent not found things to throw back at her. Whether or not the independent contractor title still flies. You have these guys working 250 some days a year, but some of them, such as your veterans, or your headliner rather, like Matt Hardy and whatnot, are showing obvious signs of being burnt out. So instead of letting them get to that point, this investigation kind of calls for reform and for obvious taxes to be paid, and it would ultimately give the wrestlers more benefits, where right now they really don't have anything. If they get hurt, they kind of lose their spot and get the rest of their contract bought out, courtesy of Vince McMahon, because that's the perk if Blumenthal hasn't figured it out. I really hope this happens. And by the way, folks, this will be a part 2 episode, because I think this is what the headline's going to be. It's basically calling Vince out on the carpet, and he's got his wife to thank for it. Like I said, none of this would have came to light. It's been known, but it's not really been looked into since, again, Linda McMahon's opponent needed dirt to throw back at her. You gotta wonder how this is gonna end. A lot of us reviewers seem to think it could do nothing but good for the wrestler. But you've got to wonder what kind of shrewd tactics WWE lawyers have up their sleeve, as they're paid good money to not make Vince McMahon do anything. Vince McMahon never has to answer any of his wrongs, and this is such an obvious wrong, I don't even know why there's an investigation. These guys should be covered. John Cena is basically your headliner right now, but what you're essentially saying to John Cena is, I will make money off of you up until you fall over. Then I will pay your hospital bill, and then I will buy out your contract, and you're no longer of use to me. Unless he, by a miracle, which happens to very few people, finds a managerial or some kind of backstage writing position, which I doubt. But right now it basically says to the wrestler, work for me, work for me, work for me, and oh yeah, if you get hurt, I'm not going to need you anymore. Football's even nicer than this. So I encourage this investigation. I'm going out there to say, I hope Blumenthal finds anything and everything he can. We'll get into the rest of the news, bits, and rumors in part 2. So stay tuned for that. Coming up right after this. Stay tuned.